Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and in this video we'll be showcasing the 9.1 Paladin, a playstyle that I've been playing since the beginning that I started my Paladin in Shadowlands. I wanted with 9.1 because I wanted something different and unique, and with the new covenant that came out for the 9.1 Paladin in 9.1, I've always tried to make it work, but I've had a hard time until Rextroy's video, which you should definitely check out, where he goes over exactly how to make this burst happen. I will cover it on this video very briefly, but if you want the nitty-gritty detailed version, definitely check out Rextroy. I wanted to give this Paladin build another go, following Rextroy's philosophy of the less globals the better, and the burst is absurdly fun. As long as you have the patience, this is something anyone can do, and my Paladin has no PvP gear whatsoever, or very minimal PvP gear. But if you're a fan of big random one-shots and burst, then you're probably going to be a fan of this build. Also, majority of you guys watching these videos are still not subscribed. You might as well hit subscribe, hit the bell, especially if you want to see more 9.1 updates for World of Warcraft, as well as just me playing more alts. Try now these different weird wacky builds, especially with 9.1 when they will be able to unlock covenants for us, so we could play any covenant, any playstyle we want. So most likely there's going to be build videos on that as well. We'll talk about the build towards the end of the video, but enjoy the clips. Honestly, I gotta say I had a really good time with this build. First things first, this isn't some crazy good competitive build that you should take into arenas and push Gladiator with, nor am I a great Paladin whatsoever. This is strictly an ult that I just have some fun with from time to time. Now that we got it covered, let's take a look at the talent build that makes this work. In the talent pro, we're gonna go with Zeal as it is the easiest choice, but also the extra auto attack swing damage adds up for this burst. Fires Justice have found an easier talent to play with. I think Blades of Wrath is way better no matter the content you do, but Fires Justice was just easier because of the extra holy power you could set up for this one-shot burst. Fist of Justice is a decent talent in level 30 row, but anything can be taken, similar to level 35 depending on the utility. I just like the defensiveness of Unbreakable Spirit. Seraphim is pretty much mandatory in level 40, with Healing Hands being the best choice in level 45, and at level 50 is where I made a mistake of going Final Reckoning. For me, I tried to make the biggest burst with the most amount of damage modifiers, but that meant adding more globals into my burst without that surprise element. Rextra separately went to this with Sanctified Wrath, where that just does extra holy damage on your finishers, which adds into the Blessing of Summer Night Fae burst. For PvP talents, you can run Aura of Reckoning if you get enough stacks, and you can land up that auto attack swing that's going to do more damage that can add towards your burst. Together with Vengeance Aura, if any of your allies are CC'd, that builds up critical strikes, so majority of your bursts will crit, hopefully. I ran Unbound Freedom because I found myself kind of slow as a Paladin. I think a lot of people can relate, so for mobility's sake, I ran Unbound Freedom. I'm not really sure what could be ran best in this row. Because with this build, it's much easier for you to get the globals out to do the burst, Corain trait of First Strike ends up being a way better choice, where previously in PvP I found this janky to use, but as long as you have a second target to swap to, and in most PvP encounters you do have a second target to swap to, you'll benefit from the crit modifiers together with the Wings crit modifier together with hopefully good enough RNG to make your burst count. If you don't like RNG, you won't like this trait, the Templar's Vindication, where Templar's Verdict has a chance to strike the enemy again for 30% of its damage. Essentially, we're just kind of hoping for the best rolls of the RNG in order to make this burst work, which is why it's pretty easy for a lot of people to do, because it's just mostly setup and then hoping for a good proc. It's not really super skillful, but no one said that this playstyle and build really is skillful either. So to set this up, you want to make sure you have plenty of holy power to start with. You'll apply Blessing of Summer, and if you're using the legendary for Blessing of Summer from the Night Fae Covenant, after the first 10 seconds, the next 10 seconds of that blessing are going to be 100% empowered, where your character has an 80% chance to do 60% more damage as holy damage. So during that moment when you have the empowered blessing, you want to make sure you have Seraphim already pre-active, and you want to make sure to build a little bit of holy power if possible. Sometimes it's easier just to use Wake of Ashes, even if you just don't even use it on a target. You kind of want to swap to the enemy with the Judgment and Wings at the same time to make sure that you're getting the benefit from the First Strike trait from Corain that gives you that extra crit bonus. And then you want to go into Templar's Verdict, hopefully generate enough holy power to follow up with another Templar's Verdict. But sometimes if you can get all these procs and auto attacks and Reckoning to all hit at once, you can do some absurd amount of damage together. And if everything crits, and if you're real lucky on Blessing of Summer procs, this could be a ton of damage all at once. I found that this build is really easy to put together as long as you have the patience. And as long as you're kind of given a little bit of right away, like if somebody just runs at you as a Paladin and forces your cooldowns before you can really get the setup, this is going to be pretty challenging. In arenas, you can definitely coordinate with a healer or whoever your other secondary partner is going to be in arena in order to be able to create some CC in order to give you that opportunity to set up. And as long as the enemy does not expect the big haymaker, as long as you're not tracking that you're a Night Fae with the legendary that allows your benefits of the blessings to be empowered for a short time, it could be just a complete out of left field surprise, which is part of the fun of this build. Again, like I mentioned earlier, this is just straight up RNG, rolling for the best RNG of this build and trying to see if things can line up together. And as someone who plays a lot of Outlaw Rogue, which is a very RNG based spec, this was actually very much up my alley. So for example, in a battleground setting, if you have a target like I picked a hunter in the background of this scene, I think that's going to be my target. As long as they don't turtle, I could make a lot of damage happen. I have a druid and a priest to beat up on to generate holy power. I pop blessing in preparation. As soon as I have the blessing popping off, hodge the hunter, hit him with a judgment, wings at the same time, and try to do the most amount of damage together. I imagine that if you have an actual PvP character with a lot of versatility gear and all the PvP trinkets, however, not everyone has the time in order to grind out the gear in order to be able to pull something like this off. But go on Night Fae, which will be easier with 9.1.5, and it will be a lot less punishing without having switching covenants, since in 9.1.5 you'll be able to switch covenants very easily, and crafting legendaries will be far easier again in the next upcoming patch. I imagine this build will be something for players to do that's fun and cheesy. There's actually quite a few things that can be done that are kind of cheesy in 9.1.5 in particular, so this is just one of those things that I definitely am going to have fun with, and in future update you guys could too. Anyway, just wanted to showcase it. Definitely go watch Rextroy's video if you want to see a more detailed version of how he can min-max it, if you want to see some absurd damage. But this is the best that I could do with my Paladin, and I thought I did a pretty good job. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about this build? Do you think this is fun and maybe something you might want to try out? And does this make you want to at least just mess around with Night Fae? Maybe once 9.1.5 comes out. I'm not asking you Paladin to swap out of Kirin, because Kirin is really good. But I'm also wondering how good Necrolord will be in 9.1.5, because that's also getting quite a few buffs, which also could be pretty cheesy. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you try this build out, let me know in the comments what you think about it. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.